everybody, and welcome back once again to the Tandie Jacobs Table Talk, where we talk about anything and everything pertaining to things that sometimes may be happening within that month or that are happening within and around the world. So today I am joined by my lovely Dear Auntiey Mimiey. No, Dear Auntiey Mimiey is on Facebook, isn't it? It should be just Auntie Mimiey.
That's fine.
I shouldn't just say Dear.
Doesn't matter.
You like the Dear?
I'm beloved. So just feel free, whatever takes your fancy.
No, that's fantastic. I'm joined today by Auntie Mimiey, and we are going to be talking about motherhood. Now, Auntie Mimiey is famously known on quite a lot of social media platforms, where she is a tete or / auntie to anyone and everyone. Doesn't matter what it is you want to talk about or what you're going through, in any time of the day, she is available around the clock. I still don't know how you do it. Auntie Mimiey, it's lovely to have you here today.
Thank you, Tandie, for having me here at Tandie Jacobs Table Talk.
Yes, table talk, I like it. So we're talking about motherhood. And I know recently, well, first of all, the month of May, in quite a lot of countries, Mother's Day is celebrated in May. I think it's only the UK and maybe a few other European countries that celebrate Mother's Day in March. But a lot of countries like Africa, America, and Australia, I think they celebrate it in May. So May kind of is the mother's month. Okay, let's take the whole month.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you say? What do you say about motherhood? What is motherhood? What's your opinion, Joe?
What can I say about motherhood? Motherhood is the embodiment of nurturing, cherishing, guiding, loving a child, whether yours or one that you've adopted, like myself. I adopted my first child.
Oh wow, fantastic.
Yes,
that's amazing.
yes. So it's not only those that give birth to a child, but those that raise
a child.
Yes.
So that's including the aunties,
the aunties,
and the sisters who have raised their other siblings.
Yeah.
What about siblings who raised their other siblings?
I had 3 moms. I'm my birth mom, my grandmother that raised me, my second mom, who is my dad's wife. So I've had 3 mothers.
Wow. Wow. So there's 3 presents.
3, yeah. 3 blessings. 3 blessings.
No, and I think motherhood is also, like you said, it's very nurturing. It's got to come from within, because there are some mothers who have given birth to children but are not as loving. They don't carry that mother loving warmth that comes with being a mother, that nurturing bit, that warmth that you feel you can just run to them and just put your arms and cry to them. There are some mothers. And why do you think that is the case?
Well, I will speak on behalf of myself. Like I've said that I had 3 moms. My mom left when we were young. We would visit her on the holidays, but I stayed with my grandmom, then with my second mom. And as I was growing, I started to learn to speak for myself, to defend myself when I was a young girl. So I became outspoken. I had to stand for myself. There is a sheltering or a covering that comes with your mother. When people know that your mom is not there, sometimes they make you a scapegoat.
They do.
Yeah. So having done that, I grew up a very tough woman. I just had to be tough. Then, lo and behold, I gave birth to my daughter. So my daughter, she was cuddly, she was soft, she liked kissing me. Every little thing, she will cry. And because I grew up tough, I was thinking this girl needs to be tough.
Right. So you wanted to, to be tough as well to your daughter, or you wanted her to just...
I wanted her to be tough, to know that life is not easy.
Hey, it's such a tender age.
It's such a tender age. So one day, she came to speak to me about something, and I was looking at her saying, this girl needs to toughen up. So I answered her in a way that helps her to
Toughen up.
Poor girl, she recoiled. Her body language. She just recoiled. And I saw that I'd shattered her. And I remember I went in another room and I cried.
Wow.
Because I was thinking, you know what? I do not know how to be a mother because I did not grow up with my mother. I lived with her at a later age of my life. I bonded with her. I love her to bits. She loves me to bits. I was nurtured. I had love, but I didn't have that raising with that relationship because I didn't live with her. So I did not know how to be a mother to my daughter. So some women, they can't be that because they have not felt that mother love. They don't know how to display it.
And then that just goes to show you that it's one of those things that passes on from one generation to another.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing that you've identified it and you've been able to stop the cycle.
Yeah.
Because if you continued to be as tough to your daughter, by now your daughter would have toughened up.
Yeah.
And this is something that she would have then carried on
And toughened up her own
and
children.
toughened up her own children. You know, and wow, it's amazing that you've been able to see that, you know, let me stop this, you know, let me not be able to exude this kind of negative energy, but let me be warm, loving, so that
Sometimes I think I overdo it because, like, I'm always saying, I love you, come here, I'm giving you, like, it gets off me, get off me. So I think sometimes then you have to find the balance. And I think conversations like these, seminars, so I invested time to say, okay, I want to be a good mother. I sat down and I sat with my husband and we just talked. And, you know, like when you open a can of worms, the worms come out. And he was just dishing it to me, saying, okay, Mimi, you have to look at it like this.
right.
This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And he just like exposed me.
Okay.
But I was ready. I was ready at that time because I said, my daughter does not have to have that emotional leg because I did not know how to give it.
Right.
I have to be able to give it to her so that...
So do you think it's something that we need to do then in terms of creating these kind of either workshops or, you know, seminars where people in terms of just being a mother? Because there are a lot of things that we do as women, you know. Women, we love ourselves and we do a lot of empowerment of women, how to be strong, how to be confident. Sometimes we can be too strong and too tough. And then at the end, it doesn't go the right way. Do you think in terms of motherhood per se on its own,
do we ever address that? I don't think we ever really, but we are starting now. We're starting now. We are a people that if someone says like something what I've said, they say, oh, you need to be grateful. You need to be grateful that you had shelter. You need to be grateful that you were sent to school. You need to be grateful to this. But
they look at it from that kind of angle, isn't it? That you had the roof over your head, at least your mother gave you food, you had shoes to wear to go to school. You know, they look at it from that angle. But in terms of the affection and things that speak to the heart, you know, they don't look at it.
Yeah, I think also it's alien to us, really, to be fair. It is really alien. I kiss my mom, you know, like literally I kiss my mom. And I remember one woman said, oh, gee, these two girls, you don't be surprised by them, they kiss their mom. So me and my sister, because we would kiss our mom, because when I would see her, because I didn't have that much time with her, then I would overcompensate. And in Africa, people don't kiss their moms. Who kisses their moms?
No, nobody kisses.
Yeah, so you know, like, so they were talking about it, that we were strange, but I felt the urge to want to kiss my mom because I hadn't spent so much time with her, and I wanted to express to her that, Mom, you are dear to me, you are important to me, and the only way I knew how to was to give her cuddles and to kiss her.
Then sometimes you have mothers saying, stop giving me all these kisses and love, I want money. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to the Tandie Jacobs Table Talk, where Auntie Mimiey and myself have been discussing about motherhood and quite interesting things that we've been sharing and talking and discussing And it kind of reminded me of the first time when I became a mother. Yeah, I've got one son, one gorgeous boy, and I remember thinking I wouldn't be able to do it because I thought there was a skill, and it kind of came from growing up. I would see some people, my friends and my sisters and cousins, they would have children run to them or babies and they would cuddle them the whole. But me, whenever I touched the child would cry. And then people start saying, you can't, you never have a child. So it was situations where even when generally I was a heavy sleeper, and when I used to sleep, I couldn't. You turn the light on, you would come in, thunder, lightning. I couldn't hear that. Any banging or talking conversation, I just wouldn't wake up. So people used to say to me that, Tandie, when you have a child, you never hear your child cry because of the way you sleep. Your child could literally die with you in the same room because you sleep like a log. And I remember I used to laugh about it. Yeah, back then I used to laugh about it because they're saying it as a joke. But here I was lying in bed in the middle of the night. I'm about 5-6 months pregnant, and all these things are beginning to come into my mind. I must be honest, I remember literally shaking and panicking and thinking, how am I going to cope? I'm not going to be a good mother because I can't. Kids don't love me. Kids don't come to me when I hold a child. The children cry. If the child cries next door, I won't hear my child. I won't hear my baby. And what's going to happen? It's things that tormented me throughout my pregnancy. And I remember one lady who said to me, I didn't tell her these are the things that were going through my mind, but I remember her saying to me that, Tandie, some of the things that happen when having a baby, they come naturally.
Yeah. So I think words are very, very important, especially for a mother. A mother has to think about their child. When you are raising your child from the word go, you have to empower your child. The words you say to them. There was a lady who was saying to me, Auntie Mimiey, I never used to think I was beautiful because people used to say, so-and-so's ugly daughter when they were referring to her.
Wow.
So because she's dark and beautiful. If you see her, she's beautiful, beautiful skin. But people just say the dark and ugly one. So-and-so's ugly daughter, the dark, ugly daughter. So she grew up thinking she was not to be loved. When she went into a relationship, with a man that was abusing her, and she thought she deserved that. So words are very important. So when we're talking about motherhood and we say we are nurturing, we nurture our children by empowering them, saying the right words to them, making them believe in themselves, so that they know that I can do anything. So for you, something natural is sleeping because you are younger. Look at our teenagers, they sleep.
They sleep for hours.
Teenagers can sleep, You go into their room and you're thinking, wake up, they don't wake up. So it's natural, it's nature. When you're that age, you're growing, so many changes are going through your body. So you're going to sleep, but someone uses that opportunity to bring you down.
It really did affect me, to be honest, at that time. But I'm glad, for starters, when my child cries, I wake up, I hear them. I can hear them. It's like in the middle of your sleep, I can hear my son crying, and that's how. And I remember, thinking, oh my God, I can hear my child cry. I can hear it in the middle of the night. I was so happy and I was so excited. But these are the kind of things and fear that I had, in terms of having a baby and being a mother.
In our culture also, we do not address things like post-natal depression.
No.
So you are going through all those anxieties, the things that are worrying you. You go through labor. Labor is painful as it is on its own. And you can have stress, and that stress can trigger hormonal changes in you. Yeah. You already have hormonal changes anyway by being pregnant. Then you can have postnatal depression.
Yeah.
And doctor said, oh, we told you. She was sleeping when she was young. children cried when they saw her, but because we don't raise awareness on issues that are very important, such as that, in our cultures, who talks about depression?
No, they don't talk about it.
But this is part of is the journey of a woman into motherhood.
It is. And then the most interesting thing, though, don't you find that Mother's Day or mothers are talked a lot more than fathers? Why is that? Why do you think that is? I mean, the way Mother's Day is amplified, it's someone said to me, was it not you who said to me Mother's Day is like Christmas? And mothers, we are waiting for our children to make sure it is special. There is a level of expectation that comes with us mothers when Mother's Day comes.
Yeah.
But when Father's Day comes, it's like any other ordinary day.
I don't think it's like any ordinary day, but I saw a pattern where people would then say on Father's Day, Happy Father's Day to my mother, who raised me like my father. So the pattern, the trend, if you see on Father's Day, how many children who wish their mothers Happy Father's Day, it shows there's a problem in our society. I think the men are running away
from their responsibilities. But then, I mean, maybe, okay, on a serious note, it may be a situation where, for example, myself, my dad died when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
And from that time on, I was very close to my dad. But I saw my mom having to wear two hats, two roles. She had to be a mother and a dad. In fact, I remember actually saying I've lost my mom instead, because my mom...
She had to take that out.
She when my dad was alive, my dad was strict. You ask my dad, can I have some money? I'm going to a party. My dad will give you the exact amount, the exact fare. No money for buying anything. If you lose a dollar, that's it. Or if you want to go meet up with your friend, my dad was very strict. But then you would go to my dad, and then my mom would wink at you, and then you go to my mom, and then my mom would give you the little extra. Yeah. So there was that. But when my dad died, now you go to mommy, can I please have? She'll give you the exact amount. I'm like, okay, what about the extra? It wasn't coming. It wasn't coming anymore, And like, mommy, I'm going to my friends. What for? Who said that? I'm like, what happened to my mommy? What happened? She became a bit more strict.
She became a mother and a father.
Yeah, and at one point I really felt like I've lost my mom. And not lost my dad, because this is what my dad was like. And now she's wearing those shoes. I mean, obviously later on as I grew up, I got to understand, But maybe that's the reason why people...
So I like the example that you've given. So your mom takes up the role of a father and a mother. Your dad, if it were your mom that had died, he'll find a substitute mom for you. He will marry another woman. And that woman either becomes the greatest mom that looks after you, or that's the beginning of more of your problems. Lost a mom, there is someone that is supposed to be your mom that is in the picture that is not fulfilling that role because your dad thought, let me find a substitute for you. So,
well, that is quite interesting that you said that. But then wouldn't one argue and say, Auntie Mimiey, that my life shouldn't stop because I've had to remarry, or I have identified that I cannot do this on my own, and therefore I've gone to find a woman. As women, we're supposed to be nurturing, warm, loving, kind. Automatically, we are made like that.
Yeah.
According to so maybe the man then goes and says, I can't do that. I found somebody else.
We're not saying you should stop. We are just saying this is the dilemma of the child. We're not saying he should stop his life. He should continue with his life. But as he's continuing with his life, there's this problem that has come. And you have to understand that the father and daughter relationship is so solid that when another person comes in, they have to, it's like they're struggling to find way into the heart of the father. I know my daughter and her dad, they're so strong. Their bond is so strong. Sometimes I say to my husband, if I had come here and this girl was some other woman's daughter, I was going to leave you. because they are that close. They have their secrets. There's just something about a daughter and a father.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So this woman is coming to be nurturing. But you are running to daddy. Daddy, this is what has happened to me. Why? Because this is natural. This is what you used to do when your mom was alive. So again, what you were saying about mothering seminars, maybe these things need to be shared. Yes, we need to have these conversations. We need to have seminars for things like that, because you get there, you're thinking, I'm going to be with the men that I love. And there is someone who's vying for the competition.
But then, okay, so like you said, it definitely needs to be something that needs to be talked about at one of these seminars, because one could also argue and say that then the mothers should also find husbands. You know, if the dad is no longer, because now we, like you said, it's Father's Day and we are saying Happy Father's Day to my mother. Why are the mothers then not finding fathers?
So years back, I don't know about today, years back the moms would say, I'm sacrificing my life for my children, lest I bring a man that will abuse my children. So my mom never remarried. So she said, I want to be there for my daughters. And there came a time in my life that I had to run to her. And when I ran to her, it was in the middle of the night and the door was opened. There was no man who would say, why are you here? Go back to your father's house, this. I just went to my mom. And my mom just took me in at that time. When she left, they said, oh, these children belong to the father. They stay here. But when trouble actually came for me, I ran to my mother. The door was open because she kept that environment open.
Yeah.
But if there was another man, maybe I would have run into the streets, who knows?
So it then comes back to what you're saying in terms of having seminars, because it's about having to identify a partner, because we can't then say don't move on with your life, no matter what would have happened, whether it's you've been widowed or you've been divorced, right? So whoever you then meet, your partner, it has to be a partner who is able to accept and is able to let the door remain open, irregardless of the fact that you have children.
I think maybe people need to do counseling. You know, the English people, they take up counseling, you know. And we don't do counseling, you know, like, I think we need to take up counseling. Because if we talk about counseling, you're saying there's dysfunction in this family. But I think counseling is just you orientating yourself to possible challenges that could come. So when you are moving on, why not have counseling for yourself and your children before you take in that person? Then have counseling with that person so that she understands your home environment. Then have a family structure counseling by someone that understands about relationship dynamics. Because we work a lot with young girls that have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. And she's phoning you in the middle of the night, Auntie, I've got nowhere to go. This is what is happening to me. And when she's talking, you just realize that this is not that there's anyone who's bad, but it's just lack of understanding.
It is indeed. And on that note, Auntie Mimiey, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to the Tandie Jacobs Table Talk. And with Auntie Mimiey, it's motherhood is not just one topic, is not one subject. It's not just defined by one thing. There are so many aspects that I've discovered sitting here with Auntie Mimiey on the Table Talk. She expands it in such a grand way, and there's so many things that are fed into it, which I have actually said to her, we need to have another table talk.
Thank you.
Okay, so coming back, what do you think are the challenges? Or actually, before we get to the challenges, what are the differences in terms of motherhood here in the diaspora and in Zimbabwe?
Right. I think one of the biggest challenges is that in the diaspora, you are working, you are relying on childminders to raise your children. In Africa, perhaps you can have someone that comes into your home environment that stays with you. Sometimes it's even a relation, sometimes it's an aunt, sometimes it's an uncle. So you have a social network that is available there to support you. But in the diaspora, it is as if you are single-handedly looking after your children. Yes. So in that regard, you really need to be alert. You need to be alert to your child. How are they? What is their countenance like? What is their body language like? Because they are spending a day somewhere where you are not there. So you have to always be constantly alert. You have to communicate with your children.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how tired you are,
you have to.
Yeah, you cannot afford.
It's even more than 24 hours. It's as if you need more. You're double. It's double because it's constant, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it comes back to, you know, that very popular saying in Africa where it says it takes a village to raise a child. You know, here in the diaspora, I found that it's very hard to create that village because we're so spaced out. Unless you have within the community, you know, created relationships with people who are close to you. But if you haven't, it's difficult. Whereas in Zimbabwe, you can be walking down the street and even your mother's friend can see you, can slap you, can correct you, you know, and they can still be there to support you and defend you and protect you. It takes literally the village to raise a child. But you said something really interesting, which we had a session a little while ago, especially I think it was during lockdown, where we did single mothers.
Yeah.
And on the single mothers topic, we looked at the differences between raising a child in diaspora and in Zimbabwe. And one of the things they mentioned a lot was how here, especially if you're on your own as a mother, it's harder than it is in Zimbabwe. You know, let alone besides just having the childminder or the nurseries, you have to pay for them because they're not free. And the amount that sometimes you pay is equivalent to the amount of money you're getting paid when you go to work. So you ask yourself, what is the point? You know, so it's part of the challenges that mothers tend to face here in the diaspora.
In that context, a single mother needs to look after her emotional well-being because she is the source of support for that child in that home environment. So if emotionally she's not well, she cannot nurture this child. So she has to invest into her own emotional well-being. If she's feeling low, she needs to reach out. She cannot afford because she is the hedge of protection for that child. So it's like more is demanded of her. Those that have gone separate ways with the father of the child, if the father of the child is willing to co-parent, no matter what happened, sometimes it is better to make those relationships possible so that you can get that extra support. Because imagine being with a child 24/7. You go to work, you come back, the demands of that child. Emotionally, it's tiring, it's exhausting.
It is.
So you have to invest into yourself as well as a mother.
I think the what I'm picking up, especially from what you were saying, that, you know, motherhood is it's a nurturing job. You know, it's a very nurturing job that we have to do around the clock. You know, and if you yourself within, coming back to the story that you mentioned earlier on about being tough, if you are not also nurtured in the right way when you were young, it has an impact. If you haven't healed from your own emotional traumas, it has an impact. If you haven't healed from, you know, whether it was abuse or anything that you went through yourself, it will have an impact. You know, you will not be able to perform your role and to do your job as well as you would. But if there's one thing I've realized, especially with listening to some mothers now or older children, is that there's always this bit where we see our mothers have sacrificed. And I think hence the whole motherhood or Mother's Day being so popular, in that there's a lot of sacrifice that mothers do. You know, they sacrifice besides their time, their money, but some of them literally sacrifice their own lives just so that their children can have a better life. You know, we touched on remarriages, you know, marrying again. Mothers would be like, I'm not going to do that. I'll just look after my kids and that's it. You know, we talked about their work, their careers. You know, some mothers would be like, I'm not going to study. I'm not going to start this. You know, I will just focus on my kids, and then when my kids have grown up, that's when I will do this. You know, or there are times where they they just, in terms of money, they just don't spend money on themselves,
Yeah.
but they spend money on their children.
Yeah.
But then it's even more interesting now where you hear the children later on when they grow up saying, but why didn't you get married again? And then you think, but I said all the time I did this. So I would look after you. They're like, well, no, you should have gotten married again, you know, because all the time, why didn't you go out? Why didn't you do this course? Why didn't you? I remember many years ago, one time when I went to Zimbabwe and I wasn't married then, I didn't have a child, it was just me. And I was all dressed up, you know, nice, slim and slender. Mm-hmm. And then I remember my sister's son, he was quite young, but he said to his mom, why don't you dress like Auntie Tandie? Hey, look at her body, everything. You! My sister was like, I had you!
I'm sure you meant you.
I was, you know, but it shows you that kids are looking, isn't it? They are looking. And
I do not think that parents should not remarry. I think a woman can remarry. However, you have to put your children first. You cannot put a man before your children. That I will say it, no matter how time evolves, your child has to come first. No matter how much you love that man, you have to look at your child in the home. Are they happy? What are they exhibiting? When they tell you something, listen, believe them. I'm not saying men are monsters, but sometimes things go wrong. Vice versa for the men as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes things go wrong. The only shelter and the only protection that child has got is you.
Yeah.
You are their blood in that environment. So this man will come and they will sweep you off your feet and you're saying, yes, I'm young, I'm getting married again. Yes, we don't have a problem with that, but we are saying your child should always come first. And that man should always know that this child comes first.
So what then happens to the mothers who leave their children with their fathers to say the father should look after? And she remarries.
Who knows? Who knows? If the father's got a wife, the child is incorporated into that family. What happens in that family environment, only that child knows. Only that child knows. For me, having come from a broken family, what I would say is if parents can stay together from the onset, if they can get past their differences and if they love one another, then they need to try and make it work for the children. If you're not sure about your spouse, maybe don't rush into having children. But for us, when we get married, is something happening? Are we expecting anything? If it's 6 months into your marriage, there's nothing happening, say, is something wrong? But you have to make these decisions consciously. Because once you have a child and you go separate ways, there's a vulnerability. There's an exposure to that child. And who looks after that child? The parents. So both the father and the mother should prioritize their child.
Both should.
Both should.
I think I like what you said. I think, but to add on to it, I think it's always a situation where if environment becomes toxic, then it becomes unhealthy for the children. If environment becomes unhealthy, then at the end the children are not able to call this a home. You know, so sometimes then in situations like that, parents are forced to then go separate ways, but still the children have to remain the center, isn't it? The children have to remain the center of it all. The children have to remain important, and each parent, whether married, remarried or not, should still consider and think about their children, you know. And especially us mothers, we should love our kids.
I think mothers do try, but sometimes the husband is also vying for attention. Have you ever seen men that behave like children, that they are, you give attention to the child, he wants attention. You are breastfeeding the child, he wants to breastfeed you. And they're thinking, come on. You fed from your mom, now you want to feed here as well when the baby is feeding, you know. Some will call it romance, whatever they will call it.
It's part of romance, maybe.
But,
I don't know.
but there are men like that you are feeding the child, he also wants to feed. So you can see that this man is actually trying to get your attention from the baby.
Yeah, maybe they feel that the baby's taking my attention.
So are they not going to be grown up about it? They're not going to be grown up about it because they're feeling it.
Actually, motherhood is something else. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been absolutely fantastic having Auntie Mimiey on the table talking about motherhood. As I said earlier on, there's so many things. Motherhood is very broad. It's a nurturing job, but one which we absolutely love. I've got one last question for you, Auntie Mimiey. If you got 3 children, if your 3 children were standing here today, what would each one say about you?
I think they would say I'm very loving. And they would say I sacrifice for them. That they would say definitely. Because I've got letters written and cards written from them.
Are you sure you didn't make them write them?
No. No. So on Mother's Day, I hear the same message over and over again. I don't know whether it's true, but that's what they say.
That's really nice. One thing I discovered, that sometimes children, they always, like you talked about, that your daughter is very close to your husband, isn't it, to her father. They always have another valve or another place they can let out, you know, and they need to be able to have it. And also as siblings, they tend to talk amongst themselves, and they tend to talk about their parents, and they tend to say things that sometimes they know we don't want the mothers to hear. Like I know my son talks to his siblings, to his cousins, sisters and brothers, and the things that he says about me, but when he's in front of me, he's like, Mommy, you were the best mother ever. His friends have said that, oh, your mom is so nice, she's the coolest. And he's like, how did you come to that conclusion that my mom is the coolest? Because sometimes I think, and maybe I may be wrong, that when I'm loving and I'm caring, but then my son will think that's me being very strict. Do you understand what I mean? As in, to his friends, I'm loving, I'm caring, and I'm cool. I'm the cool mom. But my son will be like, no, she ain't cool. She being strict right now. She cool with you guys, but with me, she's strict. Do you think that is the case sometimes with us as parents?
Yes.
That with our own kids, we're a little bit stricter than we are with other children.
I'm a very strict mom, but on the surface or inside, my children know that mommy loves us, and they will tell you that mommy loves us. Sometimes I hate them saying, oh, she's like this, she's like that. One day I got my daughter talking to her dad, and she's like, she said this, she did this. And I said, and who's this she? It was me. So all those things do happen, but when we are looking at the broader picture, they do understand that mom loves us, because I work towards that. I have invested so much time in trying to express to my children that I love you. I do the best that I can for them. Yeah, that's all we can do.
That is. I think the sweetest thing for me is that every night before my son goes to bed, he will come into my room to make sure to say good night and I love you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is the most important thing.
Mine might forget though.
I'll tell you a funny joke before we close for the table talk. My friend said to me that her husband went to pick up the kids from school. And when they picked up, they went to McDonald's and they went for a little drive and drove to the park and then they came home. And then the kids, and they were coming into the house, they were like, oh, we really love it when Daddy comes to pick us up because we do a lot of fun things, we do places. And then the mother's like, what about when, and the dad only picks up once a week or once every other week. And he said, what about when I pick you up? He's like, hey, it's like the military. Get in the car! Get in! And on that note, we're going to end the Jacob's table talk. Thank you so much, Auntie Mimiey, for coming to the show. It's been absolutely wonderful having you here, having this discussion. Indeed, motherhood is such a joy.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. See you again on the Tandie Jacob's Table Talk.